Page 62, Ballade. This is a melody at the beginning of the G minor Ballade by Chopin. It's a beautiful piece of music. This is one I played for the piano club a couple years ago. They just enjoyed it very much. Very difficult piece to play though. And this is sort of the melody at the beginning of it. The main melody of the piece. And the trick here is at the beginning here, the first beat starts with a rest. And that kind of throws it off, typical Chopin. And this is one of the reasons we need these natural accents, because otherwise you're going to think it starts on the beat. What? There's not enough notes. But it starts on an and. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Ah. Oh, did I mention this is in the key of G minor? I mean, it's a G minor ballade, so yeah. And then, by the way, it is a ballade, not ballad. The E on the end makes it a ballade. It's basically the same as a ballad. It's a musical story, and it is. It's a musical story. You have to make up your own story, but that's okay. So again, at the beginning, it's a rest. 1 and 2 and 3 and. Put a little more emphasis on the D than the C, so. And then when you get to the first beat of the measure, that's the accent. And hold these, the melodies, these dotted half note, hold these down. We want 1. Now, if you don't want to put a thumb on that F sharp, you can use here and then 4. That's fine. That works out just as well as their fingering. So, second line. 1. The chord at the end of these lines, like the first line is here, the full chord is here, but the right hand's helping out. I mean, in the real thing, you do that too. I mean, the right hand helps out with the chord on some of these. And that's the second line, it's here, the chord is here, but the right hand's helping out. You just have to make it sound like one hand played the whole chord. And then going on. Now, third line down, the last two measures. Left hand, you have an E natural, B flat, D flat, here. And then F, B flat, C. Now, in the last line, there's no rest. Now we're hitting the beat. 1, 2. Make sure the accent's on the first beat of the measure. Here. And with the way Chopin did a harmony, sometimes it sounds off, but it isn't. That's really what he wanted. It's just, you have to question it sometimes. Look at the last line, second measure. In the left hand, you have a B flat, E flat, F. In the right hand, you have a C sharp. Just lovely. But that's what he wrote. And then it resolves. Then you repeat all that. Let's go on to page 63. You hear? Hold these dotted half notes down. Second line, it's the same thing with a slight variation to it here. See, the right hand has got this, we just did this part, but the left hand's got something. They're telling you to shift. Isn't that nice? See, I've been wondering about that word shift. This book uses the word shift when it wants you to change hand positions. And I'm thinking, I wonder if the person who edited this is actually a string player. Because in piano, we don't shift when we move, we just move. But in the strings, a violin or cello, when you move your hand on the fingerboard, that's called shifting. You put it in a different, you shift the hand. I'm wondering if they do that. Because, you know, you're walking behind somebody and you want them to move, you don't say, would you please shift? You say, would you please move? Or something to that effect. So I'm thinking the shift is kind of cute. I'm getting a kick out of the word because it's different than what we would use. It usually is just move. Technically, they don't need anything there. It's not part of the music. It's just something the author stuck in to help you. Telling you, you got to move your hand. And there's other ways of fingering this where you don't have to do that if you want to try those, because at the beginning of the measure here, then I could come down with, say, third finger, then second finger, and then thumb on the G, and then I can cross over and put here for the F, and that works too. So you figure out a fingering that works for you, and then once you've decided on it, stick with it. But this has to be legato on that second line. And I can do a 1 and then substitute the 2. That's what I typically do with it. The second line is here. I use third finger, second finger, and I put a thumb and then substitute the second finger. And it's third line down, that ends a phrase, so lift the hand up before you go on. Try to play these as legato as you can, the pedal will help it. And the melody here is the top note in the right hand. That's what we want to hear. And the fourth line down, third measure, hold that D down. And it's tied, the D's tied, so you're just going to hold it down. So here. So you work it out one hand at a time, then put the hands together and add the dynamics, because that helps too. It starts out kind of soft, but you get that swell. Ba-da-da-da-da-da. And you have to exaggerate the swell a little bit. Soft. This is gentle. Again. Again. Last line, now you're going to crescendo up, not real loud yet. That's where we want to go. And then come off, and then you'd repeat all that wonderful stuff. And at the top of 63 again, you're not too loud. I would say a medium loud here. Again. There's an accent. Watch the accents here on the second, third measure. Actually, they're on each of these measures in the left hand. And I get a little louder on this part. Come down. I get a little louder here and then come down. Slow down. It's pretty. And you get all that worked out, working for you. So you can hear everything and you have control and there's no wrong notes and no hesitations and all that's gone good. Then you can add the pedal. Let's talk pedal. Most of this is legato pedal, but we want to hear the phrasing. And on these eighth notes at the beginning, if I pedal it the way they're showing it, you'll get this. I don't like the sound of blurring the eighth notes, so I recommend don't pedal those measures. Don't pedal until you get the dotted half note here, so don't pedal this. Leave this open, smooth and clean. Connect it with the fingers. Now, legato pedal. I'm changing it at each measure, but after the notes. Second line, that measure, the first, any measures with these eighth notes in it like this, don't pedal those. And we want to hear that eighth rest at the beginning of these measures, so make sure there's silence for half a beat. And the last line on page 62, again, don't pedal that again. It's a new phrase, but don't pedal that measure. And then put the pedal down after the second measure. You start it. And you repeat that. let's go on to page 63. You can legato pedal this part. And at the end of the line, lift up so there's a little silence. It's the end of a phrase. And they're not pedaling here because we don't want to smear the left hand. Now you can pedal this. Third line down, don't pedal between the first and second measures. We want to, it's the end of a phrase. We want, and change. Now we can smear this a little bit. You can either smear it or change the pedal with each beat. I'll leave that up to you. If I change it with each beat, I get this. Or if I pedal it the way they're doing, I get this. That's fine, either it's up to you which way you want. And then going on the fourth line here, legato pedal. Again, you can pedal it like they're showing you, or I could pedal each beat, or I could just not pedal at all. The problem is I get this in the left hand. I don't want silence there, so you pretty much have to pedal it something. So you can pedal it, I guess, like they're showing you is fine. The pedal and the hands come up together. So, and that's basically this piece.